about something, but I really would like to hear your your thoughts and ideas on these topics. So, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm sure many of you have heard that 8 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 5 years, right? It's common and it's a scary statistic when you're the one trying to build the business. So, so today's topic again is we're going to be talking about 5 mistakes that you can avoid. Let's get into the first one. And this is so common. I talk to business owners all the time, and I say to them, "How committed are you to building this business, to growing this business, to turning it into a success?" And most of the time, they say, "I am so committed. I really want to do this. So committed." But they really aren't. I meet business owners all the time who are really just waiting for the business to be successful, to show that it's going to be successful before they're really willing to commit themselves to making it successful. So imagine if you are a parent and you said to your baby, listen, baby, I'll take care of you a little bit. Maybe I'll feed you once a day and I'll change a diaper once a week, but I'm not really going to raise you or do anything you need to care for you, to nurture you until you prove to me that you're going to be a successful, productive adult. Now, of course, we can't ever say that to a child, right? But that's what our businesses are like. They're like a little baby, and they need our constant attention and nurturing in the beginning before they're going to prove to us that they are successful. So I see people waiting all the time saying, well, until I know I can make a sale, I'm not going to really focus on this. I'm not going to work too hard on it. So that's the first mistake, is waiting until your business is successful before you're willing to commit to it. So thoughts on that? What do you guys think? Has anyone ever seen that happen or experienced that? I'd love some comments here. And I forgot to share my screen.
You can, oh yeah, if you need to share your screen, if we're looking at a slide, go ahead and do that. And also you guys can unmute yourself, or you can just ask in the chat. It's easier if you just unmute yourself and we'll have a dialogue.
I would rather have a dialogue. That would be great. I forgot to give you guys the picture of the cute little babies, right? That we're going to nurture and raise to be adults. And if you think of each of these babies as a business, it's really the mistake I think I see most often with business owners, is that they don't commit until they keep waiting. They keep waiting to see success before they're willing to commit.
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, it's a statement and a question. I think that this is about the idea of where people say, well, your business is not a business until it makes money. So I want you to be able to speak to that. And for me, I'm like committed. So I've taken necessary steps to say that it is a business now, even before all the big, huge success.
So that's a really great comment. And I'm happy to hear that you have really committed yourself and you're working at it and focusing on what you need to be doing for it to be a successful business. And you're right that many people say it's not a business until you make money at it. And it really isn't a business, but it won't ever be a business if you don't focus on it now, right? And so you're doing the right thing in focusing on your business, and eventually you will get to the point, assuming you're doing the other things that are right, you will get to a point where it becomes a real business. But if you don't focus on it and you continue waiting, it will not ever get to where you want it to be. So did that answer your question?
Yes.
Who else has a thought on that? No other thoughts?
I have one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I noticed my business has been involved for 7 years now, and it's still not at the successful stage, only because my business is unique. And because of that, I had an aha moment 3 years ago, really realizing that the reason I don't have customers or clients is because the people don't understand what I truly do and how beneficial it is for them. So that's been a really hard accomplishment, a lot of disappointment along the way. And I've almost given up 4 times on this business, but something keeps driving me to keep going. So I understand the same thing. When I graduated, I'm a canine massage therapist. And so when I left school, I thought people would just be knocking on my door, just waiting for me to do this for their dogs. And it was a huge and humbling experience for me. So I really understand what you're saying. So I
Mhm.
appreciate this.
Yes, and for you, getting the messaging right, explaining it in such a way that people see the benefits of what you do is going to be really important. So getting to that point where your communication with people is actually helping them solve a problem. And it has to be a problem that they know they want to solve. That's another piece that often happens with business owners is they try to sell something that people don't know they need to solve. So you have to make sure that you are talking about a problem that you can solve, that your prospect knows they need solved. At least something they know they need solved first. Often, this is another thing that happens. We know our business, right? We know our businesses. We know how to do what we do. And we know that our clients really need to do something first before they get to the point where they do what they think they need, right? But they don't recognize that they need to do that something first. So you can't actually try to sell them on something they don't know that they need. You have to explain to them, you have to sell them on getting to the point to solve the issue they do know they need solved, and then explain that you've got to do this other piece first. So
Thank you very much.
yeah. So it's a matter of thinking about that. And actually, I was not going to talk about that today, but if we have time at the end, remind me and I will talk about how you can get the right languaging for that. All right, let's go on to number 2. So business owners, they don't always know how to plan for a profit. And we're such a strange society. When we get money in our hands, what happens? The first thing we say is, okay, where can I spend it? I got money from this client. I need this for the business. I need that for the business. I want to get, this kind of and we do this for our personal life as well, right? We get some money and we think, okay, am I going to get the new car? Am I going to go on vacation? Am I going to buy the shoes that I wanted, right? This happens all the time. We have some money and we think, where am I going to spend it? And we do that in business too. Am I going to get Hootsuite, or am I going to take that course I wanted, or am I going to hire somebody to help me out, or get a new website, right? We start spending it right away before we even actually have it. So you all know what I'm talking about, right? So here's an example. You get something and you think, I want this, I want this, I want that. It's like wanting candy sometimes. But the reason that corporations, they have retirement savings plans is because this is what we do in our heads, right? We have this thinking, I've got money, how and where can I spend it? With a retirement savings plan, it comes out of your paycheck before you even see it, right? You don't even know you have it. You don't even miss it. And this is the kind of habit you need to build in your business to ensure that at the end of the year, you're going to have a profit, right? So my suggestion here is that you start right from day one to put aside a percentage of your revenue, put it away into another account, not your operating account. Put it someplace where you can't see it very easily, or you don't see it very easily. And you'll forget that it's there. You'll forget that the money is sitting there for you. You can also put aside your taxes into another account and forget that it's there, because it'll just accumulate and you'll have it at the end of the quarter or the end of the year when you need that money, right? And do the same thing with your own personal salary. If you take those three things out first, then you start to make decisions in your business based on the money that's still left in your operating account. You'll start making better decisions. You won't say, oh, I've got all this money, where can I spend it? You'll say, I have a smaller amount of money than I thought I did. And so now I have to be really choosy about where I'm going to spend it. If you've been in business for a while, taking 10% right off the top to put into a profit account would be awesome, but sometimes that's really hard to do. So I'm going to say start with 1 or 2% and then build up to 10%, right? Here's why you do it. So there's several advantages to building this habit of money every month or every pay period or every 2 weeks, putting it away into another account. And again, this is not accounting. This is money psychology. This is not accounting. Your accountants won't maybe even understand this, right? They won't even understand this, but this is about you and looking at your bank account. It doesn't happen so much in big businesses because the business owners of a really big business, they don't look at their bank account every day. But as small business owners, we do look at it all the time. But here's why you do it. First of all, if you have a profit every single month, then you at some point will probably need a bank loan, because almost every business needs a bank loan at some point in order to grow. If you've got a profit every month and you can show that to the bank, they're going to look upon you much more favorably to give you that loan. So that's the first advantage, right? The second advantage is it gives you a cushion. You've got this cushion of money sitting in an account that you don't look at very often. And it's there for you if there's a disaster. And believe me, there's always going to be a disaster in any kind of business. Something happens over time, right? I mean, this year it was COVID, but it could be if you have a storefront, it rains one day, the ceiling falls in, you have to close for several days to make repairs, right? It could be your website crashes and you have to spend the money to have it rebuilt. It could be that as a solopreneur, you have a car accident and you can't get out there and work for a few months. Well, this gives you that cushion. So that's the second advantage. And the last advantage is that at the end of the year, you've actually got a profit. You know, I see so many business owners and I feel so sorry for them. At the end of the year, they look at the account and they finally pay all their taxes and everything. And they say, was there anything left for me? Was there anything left for me? Well, this ensures that there's always money left at the end of the year. So anybody have any comments on that? Has anybody actually done this kind of a thing? I know that Colleen has. I know Colleen has. Anybody else done it? Anybody else tried it?
I think the other thing that it does too, Lynn, and I'm glad that you brought it up, is by separating your money into different accounts, one, you always have your taxes that are paid that you'll need to pay at the end of the year. So you never have to have stress on taxes if you're always taking a percentage out, setting it aside. By separating your money into these different accounts, profit, operations, taxes, what it does is you look at now your main bank account, which could have had $20,000 in it, because you've separated everything, it might only have $3,000 or $4,000 in it. So now you look at that and go, oh my gosh, I need to get my butt working and I need to get some more sales. So there's a psychology that's surrounding that also tells us, if I look at my bank account and I see a big number, I'm not as motivated, versus if it's separated into different counts, I'm more motivated. So there's that psychology as well.
Yeah, especially if you're not looking at the other accounts much at all. That's really advantage. Rule of thumb, some people ask me about that, a rule of thumb for this. I like to say 10% for profit, 30% for you, 20 to 30% for your taxes, depending on what your accountant says. And then what's left is what you run your business on. So it's a rule of thumb. You can adjust those numbers a little bit as your business needs it, but that's a good thing to kind of look at. So mistake number 2, is not planning for a profit from day one, literally day one. As soon as you get that first dollar in the door, start doing this, because it is a habit. It's not anything other than a habit. It's just, if you do it every month or every 2 weeks, when you pay yourself or whatever you pay other people, it'll happen automatically. So just turn it into a habit. All right. Number 3. This is another problem I see all the time, is that people they're confused about what they're building. They don't really think about, okay, what is the business I'm trying to create? At the end of when I'm done building, what is the business I want to have? And when you do have that direction, when you know where you're going with it, your decisions are all aimed in that same direction. I don't know if you're a sailor, and if you know anything about sailing, they're racing towards a mark at the end of your race, right? And so you go way off in one direction and you go off in the next direction, and every time you come about, you get closer and closer to that mark, and you veer less and less off into crazy directions. That's what happens in your business too. If you know where you're going, you might start off in the wrong direction, but you turn back pretty quickly and you start aiming directly for what you want. So I like to think about this as if you're going to the mall, right? So when we go to the mall and we're shopping in the mall, and you go in, you think, okay, I need some clothes. So you go to the mall and you wander into Macy's or Nordstrom's or one of the big department stores, and you hit every department and you see lots of clothes. And then you go out and you wander into, and you find the purses, and you look at the shoes, and maybe you look at some jewelry. And then you think about somebody, I've got to get that gift for somebody. So you end up in the bookstore, and pretty soon you're exhausted, and you end up in Starbucks for a little pick-me-up, right? And you spend your $8 on coffee. You come to the end of the day and you walk out and you have an $8 coffee in one hand and a single t-shirt in the other. And that's all you get for your whole day of wandering around the mall shopping, right? We've all done that at some point. Now contrast that to a day when you know you're going to the mall because you need an outfit for a special party, a holiday event. So now you know you end up going directly to the department or the stores that have the kinds of clothes that you like and the kinds of clothes for that event, that kind of event, right? You'll find your outfit, whatever it is, and you'll think, okay, I need the stockings and the shoes and the earrings to go with it. So you get all of that together and you walk out. You've been very efficient with your time. You saved the $8 on coffee and you came away with what you needed, right? That's the difference between not knowing where you're going with your business and deciding in advance where you're headed. If you know in advance where you're headed, you go right to that place where you need to be, and you make all of your decisions that continue to get you closer and closer to that final decision. So, who's got a comment on shopping at the mall and relating that to your business? Any thoughts on that? Has anybody thought about their business in terms of, well, I kind of went off in this direction, and then I went off in that direction and wasn't really quite sure where I was headed? Who's done that? Nobody's done that?
I've done similar things to that, as in I try one thing and I'm like, okay, it's not going to work, so I must be doing it wrong. Let me go and try and do something else. So I kind of veer from here to there.
Yeah.
And I kind of equate that is what maybe you're saying is, we try something for a little while. I was like, oh, better try something different. Better try something different. Nope, we need to pop into this other store and find something else.
Yep. So sometimes that happens naturally anyway, because you do have to try different things. But if you are, let's say you want to build your business and you know that you want to eventually your personal life. By the way, I should say this from the beginning. As a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, your business should be supporting your life. Your life is not to support your business. So you figure out what your lifestyle is going to be. and then you aim your business to support that lifestyle. So if your lifestyle is, I want to travel a lot, I want to go see my grandchildren or my children, then you do not want a business where you have an office and a bunch of staff, because you're not going to be able to do that, right? If, on the other hand, you really thrive and love to be in an environment where you're with a lot of people and you have a whole support team, then you're going to start designing your business around, how can I get my business to the point where I can have that office and have that support team around me, right? So knowing where you're going with the business and knowing how your business is going to support your life, deciding that in advance helps you make better decisions along the way. So if you'd say, I really want to have a business where I can go and travel all the time and take my business wherever I go, and then you go and you get yourself an office, that's kind of going off in the wrong direction. That's one example, but there's lots of decisions that you can make along the way that help to aim you in the right direction of living the way you want to live, so that your business supports your life. When I do strategic planning with my business owners, we always start with, what's the life you want to live? And let's aim our business to be able to live that lifestyle. All right. So mistake number 3 is not planning for a long-term future of the business in advance. And instead, I want you to think about where you're going long-term, so that you can make your decisions along the way that take you in that direction. All right, next mistake, trying to do everything yourself. So sometimes as business owners, we start to act like a one-man band. I mean, it's crazy, right? You've got the accordion or the cymbals between your knees, and you've got the bells on your toes that's your social media, the accordion in between your knees, maybe that's your marketing. You've got the big drum on the back of you, which is attached to your foot. That's your website, right? You've got your banjo, and you've got your noisemakers that you're doing with your hands. Those are maybe your operations and your accounting. And finally, we've got your products and services, right? And those are the ones attached to your mouth, your kazoo and your harmonica. It's crazy. You can't even walk. It's exhausting to try to do all of that yourself. Wouldn't it be great if you could collaborate and you could give all those percussion instruments to somebody else, right? So now you're going to take away your cymbals and your drum off your back and the bells on your toes, and you give that to somebody else, and you can now walk around without tripping, and you can actually accomplish more. And now let's say you give away your banjo and your wind instruments, the ones on your hands. Sorry, what you're left with is banjo and wind instruments. If we give away what's in our hands, so the banjo and the noisemakers, you now have free hands that you can kind of lead that orchestra, that small orchestra that is your business now, right? And what you're left with, you having to do, are the things that you do best, your products and services, or in this case, the wind instruments, while you're still conducting the orchestra and walking around. And it sounds even better because the drummer that you hired brought in 2 more drums, right? Because they can actually handle more. And the banjo player can actually play also the keyboard. So now you can do even more. So this is the biggest mistake I see. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that people try to do everything themselves. They try to save a lot of money by doing it all themselves, but it takes you so much time to do it. Cool example, or a typical example, is people will want to do a launch for a new product or a new service in their business. And so they learn how to do the landing page, and they learn how to do the marketing and all of that. And by the time they get done with all of that, they're totally exhausted. Whew, I got it done. I did it. I've got my landing page out there. I haven't spent any time preparing my program that I'm going to do at the end with that landing page. And it starts tomorrow because I spent so much time doing the landing page and I'm exhausted. But if you had somebody else just take on that one piece for you, the landing page and the follow-up marketing for you, you then have the energy to actually perform your job really well. So that's mistake number 4, is trying to do everything yourself, and it gives you no room for growth. So who's got some comments on that? Who's made this mistake in the past of trying to do everything themselves? Yeah, I know a few of you have. Did you, yeah, go ahead. Did you learn something to give away or to do, ask someone
Yeah,
else?
and it's funny because I'm an executive virtual assistant. And so I promote that all the time with business owners to, you know, invest in yourself, invest in your business by getting support and not doing it all yourself. And I catch myself doing that. I'm like, I'm the one preaching this every day. I must reach out and get support too. So it's very important to just keep that in check all the time so our business can grow to its full potential.
Exactly. Exactly. When you're so busy doing things that you're not an expert at, it takes you so much longer than it would take someone who is an expert. One of my clients had something that took him about eight hours a week to do. And finally, I convinced him to hire someone else to do it. And he said, all right, I'll pay this person for 8 hours a week to do the job. Well, that person, because she was an expert, she did it in 4 hours, which meant that he had her for another 4 hours to do something else. So it was a huge savings for him. Not only did he get the 8 hours of his own time back, but he got her 4 hours of time to do something else. Who else has a comment on being your own one-man band?
I was the epitome of a one-man band. When I launched Lead Up for Women, I did everything. And I was drowning. It just got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. And what happens is I believe the underlying toe of that, and everyone knows my success story, right? I brought Mel on, and she's been working with Lead Up for Women now for almost a year. And it allowed me space to be able to create so many other opportunities, not only for the women in Lead Up for Women, but create so many opportunities and build other businesses that brought in additional revenue streams. But you know, our health won't wait for us. And I think that's the other piece that we forget, right? We sacrifice time with our family, time for ourselves, time for our health. And it's not healthy for you to build that. And if you're wearing yourself down and you're the only one in the business making it hum, what's going to happen when you're sick? So that's the other thing you really need to think about. Surrounding yourself with really good people and investing in that is key in having a successful business. It's not just necessary, it's key, it's instrumental.
It is instrumental. And cross-training the people on your team so that when one is not available for whatever reason, you've got somebody already trained and able to handle the next piece of that piece of the business for you. Yeah, I've had situations with clients where, you know, a car accident or a heart attack or something has made it so that their business is basically lost because they didn't have anybody else. So it's definitely a good idea to think about how can the business continue to run without me for a while. So awesome. All right, so 4th mistake. There are lots of times when we'll see a business owner and we'll think, wow, how did she get to be so big so fast? How did she get to be so good at this so quickly, right? And there's an answer to that question. And the answer is that they took every advantage that they could. So I was going to tell you a story about a conference that I went to a couple of years ago. The keynote speaker stood up on stage and said, I'm going to give $20 to the first person who comes up on stage to take it from me. And then he went on to say, I'm serious. The first person who comes up here is going to take it and takes it out of my hand is going to get 20 bucks. Well, everybody in the room, almost everybody in the room, we were sitting in our seats, including me, and we were thinking, what's the catch? Well, I don't know if I want to go up on stage. He's going to make me look like a fool. I don't really want to take his money. All of those kinds of thoughts were going through our heads, right? In the meantime, while we're all thinking these things sitting in our seats, there was a woman who got up and she walked up on stage and she took the $20 out of his hand and she walked off stage with $20 in her hand. She took advantage of that opportunity. It was there. She said, I'm going to go take it. I'm going to do it. And she quickly made herself $20. Now, yes, she was taking a risk because he might have done something that made her look like a fool or, you know, but she said, no, I'm going to go and get that $20. All of the rest of us in the back of the room, we had no chance of getting the $20 because we were still sitting there thinking about whether or not this was a good idea to even attempt, right? So this is a mistake that I see. People see an opportunity and they start to think, well, is this really a good opportunity? Should I follow up on this opportunity? What's the catch? Is it going to be a good thing for me? Am I going to look like a fool if I do it? The people who grow their businesses and grow them fast, they don't worry so much about those things. They see the opportunity and they say, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go do that. And they do it. Now, having said that, I always hesitate to put this one in here because I am a true believer in you do have to plan. You have to make a plan because if you don't make a plan, you're going to waste a lot of time. But I also strongly believe that when you make a decision, do it with urgency, do it right now. Don't keep second guessing yourself or figuring it out. So you can make a plan in about 3 seconds, depending on how big the question is. But 3 questions you can ask yourself. What's the outcome I want from this? So in this case, she wanted $20, right? What are the possible roadblocks or mistakes that could happen along the way? So you can think about what those might be. And the last one is, what's the most important thing for me to get right? Those are 3 questions you can ask yourself, and you can make a plan in just a few seconds for something. So in this case, the outcome she wanted was $20 in her pocket. The things that could go wrong, the roadblocks that could get in the way, he could say the person on stage could have said something foolish or made her look like a fool, but she was prepared. No worries, I'll just go and I'll be myself and we'll make it happen. And most important to get right was for her to look and be professional up on stage. That's 3 examples. You can do this with anything in your life. The dog threw up on the rug. Okay. First thing, what is it, the outcome I want? I want a clean rug with no smell left, right? Okay. So what are the mistakes that I could make, or what's the roadblocks that could get in the way? Well, I could actually make it worse. If I don't do a good job, I could actually grind the stuff down into the carpet. That could be terrible. So I got to make sure that I don't do that. And what's most important for me to get right? Most important is for me to get all the stuff off the top so that I don't grind it down into the carpet. Then you make your plan. Maybe your plan is I scrape it all off the top with a knife or a sharpish object before I start cleaning it up with a rag so that I'm not grinding any more in. It's a few seconds of making a plan, but you can do that plan in just a few seconds. And then you act with urgency, because if you leave that stuff on the rug, it's really going to be nasty. So act with urgency, make it happen right away and quickly. Thoughts on that? I'm sure you all have seen people who have taken action really quickly with urgency and others who have not, who've sat around and thought about it and thought about it and thought about maybe thinking about it and thought about maybe making a plan to do something, right? I know you've seen that. I know you've seen people who have not made something happen because they spent too much time thinking about whether or not they should make it happen. Most of us have done that ourselves at some point too. Any comments, thoughts, ideas on that one? All right, so those are the 5 things. When you commit yourself to your business, you make good money decisions, you know where you're going, and you hire people to help you, and you act with urgency, your business can't help but move forward. It just automatically is going to do it. And once you get to the point where your business is a well-oiled machine, then your business can run without you always being there. So that now if something happens, you've got backup. You've got the opportunity to take a vacation. Wouldn't that be nice? I had a client who was working on this for a while, and he said, I really just want to be able to go away for a month with my family. So the summer before COVID, he and his family went to Bali for a month. And he worked 2 nights a week, connecting with his staff back in the office, but that was it. He spent the month in Bali with his family. So you can do this if you plan for it, if you work at it. Before I do actually have something that I can offer you guys at the end here, but does anyone have any questions or thoughts or ideas they want to bring up before I get to that? No questions?
You guys are a quiet bunch today. I'm not
Yeah.
expecting that. Usually you're so talkative. I don't know what's happening over there.
Well,
Are
I
you-
came in late, so I'm a little behind here. But when you're talking about work from urgency, some of it also has to do with if you've got your mission in the back of your head. So how you're going to handle something has to do with, do you need this other person to step up and learn how to be responsible? Do you need to do it yourself? Do you need to be proactive with a client rather than reactive? I mean, there's lots of possibilities here, right?
Yes, there are. But the business owners who move fast, grow their businesses fast, they make decisions quickly.
Mhm.
They don't sit around for a very long time thinking about making a plan to do something maybe in the future.
And that's something I tell startups all the time. I'm involved in the St. Louis startup ecosystem. It's fail fast and fail often.
Yes.
And if it costs you money, it's an investment in education.
Well, and the other thing is you make a decision and you make it work for you.
Mhm.
It's no decision. Well, many decisions are not perfect. There is no right decision, right? There's a lot of good decisions. So you make a decision and you make it work for you. You choose this particular CRM and know it's not perfect because the other CRM did something that you wanted and this one doesn't, but you make it work for you. That's the other thing that you need to keep in mind is if you've made the decision, then do your best to make it work for you. And if it's not going to work for you at all, there's no way to make it work for you, make another decision, move on. Thanks for bringing that up. That was good. Okay. So I told you that when I first started this business, I had built 2 businesses before, and I said, oh, this is going to be so easy. I've done this already. I did this twice. No worries. I think I made every mistake with the 3rd business that I didn't even make with the first 2 businesses. And I wasted time. I did the wrong tactics. I made a lot of mistakes the 3rd time around, and you'd think I would learn, right? But I was trying to figure out why did I make the mistakes the 3rd time and not the first 2? And the difference was the first 2 businesses, I had a team. I didn't build them alone. And in both cases, we knew exactly what we were building. We planned it out in advance. We knew exactly what we were building. So I had a team and I knew what I was building. And that was the difference. The 3rd business, I kind of figured, well, maybe I'll just figure it out along the way. Didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have a team. So for me, the turning point was finding a mastermind team to work with. A group of business owners who understood what life as a business owner is like. And they supported me. They were people I could bounce ideas off of. They encouraged me to do the hard things that I really did not want to do, but I needed to do. And they made me think through the business that I was building and helped me to make the changes that I needed to grow. That experience was so valuable for me that I created a special council of business owners to be ready to take who are actually ready to take their business to the next level. And I call this council the Business Owners Strategy Council. It's a powerful method of support for small business owners that's helped many companies survive, grow, and finally be profitable. So my strategy council is not for everyone. I serve my clients at the highest level because I only have 9 people in a group. And I do that intentionally because I want it to be small so that we can actually really support each other. So if you know your time is now to grow your business, I want to offer everybody a business acceleration strategy session. It's a phone call that we'll have, actually a Zoom call. And we're going to identify what might be holding you back and determine your next best step for your business. That might be strategy council. It may not be. We'll talk about that. If it's something else, I'll help you identify what the something else is. Every business is different. There are millions of options out there for you. And one of the hardest things as a business owner is figuring out what's the right next thing for me to do. So that's the thing I will focus on in the call. I do have a free ebook for all of you. It's called 5 Keys to Success. It has the 5 keys that we talked about today and 5 more success keys in it as well. So
can you click to the next slide, Lynn? So they didn't get to see your last slide at all. So no one got to see the links or any of your information. Were you going to put that in the chat?
Can you see it now?
No, you stopped sharing your screen.
Oh, okay. I'll put it in the chat. But it's easy. It's lynsfreegift.com. So let me just put it in the chat real quickly.
So while you're doing that, I guess I would just open up the floor to say, what was an aha moment for you today? Or do you have a question for Lynn? You know, was there an aha moment? Did you write something down maybe that you learned that was something new that you uncovered today that you really hadn't discovered previously?
Or maybe something you just thought about a little differently.
Yeah.
I like how you added in the end, Lynn, about the mastermind or being around like-minded individuals. So, you know, that's something I've picked up in this last year of being in business to try and be better for my business and for myself. And that is such a great step to do. I recommend all entrepreneurs get in some sort of group setting like that. So, you know, you can bounce ideas off of each other and learn and grow.
Exactly. And in this case, it's always the same small group of people. So they really get to know each other. It's not like a networking kind of a thing, which is great in its own sense. But in this case, when it's a true mastermind, you actually really get to know everybody and their business. And so you can be a real support person as opposed to just, well, here's some ideas for you. But, you know, people, they think back to, okay, so last month when we were talking to you, you said that your wife was unhappy or your husband was unhappy because you're not around. And now you're thinking about launching a new product. So how are you going to make that work, right? Instead of, you know, oh, you're going to launch a new product. Here's what you got to do to launch the new product. No, let's think about what's the whole life plan here. Is it going to work if you launch this new product? So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Anybody else have any thoughts or new ideas?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, no, it was great. I'm new here in it's like my third hopping on lead up for women, and I am a new business. I literally launched my website yesterday and it's been in the works for like a year. And I did the mistake of, I'm going to make my own website. I don't know what I'm doing. I paid all this money for a self-led course. It was a disaster. I spent like 4 months doing nothing. And finally I just said, uncle, and I got, you know, someone to do the website. And now I started doing my own social media, and I had to reach out to my website designer. We're doing it in conjunction, you know, partnering. So I see where that is totally necessary. I'm a one person business, you know, and I'm going to be doing one-on-one coaching. So if I can farm out some of those things, I'm going to be able to do more coaching than working on, you know, moving my business. So it all makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There are great things that virtual assistants can do for you. And I'm actually doing a Facebook Live today at 1:00 about where do startups start. Because like I said, I'm very much into the St. Louis startup ecosystem. And there's a lot of things that, you know, anybody who's a brand new business needs to set some bases first before they can go and branch off a door where their particular business needs to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing where to startup start, and I have a downloadable of 10 mistakes startups make.
Yeah, Mary, drop that link if you want to in the chat. That's great. Thank you for recommending that and offering that to everyone.
Okay, great.
Often I see some business owners as they're starting their business doing the wrong things first. You know, there's a time and place for each part of your business.
Mm-hmm.
And very often business owners start with the wrong thing. And that of course depends on what your business is and which things you should be doing first. But I help with my clients with that a lot. Is, you know, I'll have to say, stop doing that because you're really not ready for that yet. You're going to waste your time and your money if you do that now. We're going to start doing that maybe 6 months from now or a year from now after you get this other piece in place. So doing the right things at the right time is really important.
Yep, absolutely.
Laura, I'm happy to get on a call with you and help you figure out your next steps. Because if you're just getting started,
Yeah.
you're in that stage of what do I do next, right? What's the first thing I should be doing?
Exactly. Thank you.
Welcome. And I'm happy to do that for anybody else on there too. You can get to my calendar link through the free gift, you know, Lynn's free gift.
Okay.
You get to the calendar link from there too.
Lynn, hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I have a comment, or not a comment, a question, maybe two-part. I appreciate everything you've said, and I'm living in one of the startup business countries in Israel, and I came here to work with the Amata, which is a nonprofit. And in the nonprofit, I'm doing programming projects. And I was beginning to start my own Amata within this. And I love what you said about figure out what your lifestyle, what you want to do or aim it towards that end of your, I guess you're saying your personality. Because when I was in the States, I had a dance studio, I had a store, and I always felt that I wanted to move around more. And so coming into this business, I work with women with trauma and families, and I help them to create career opportunities, and also to help entrepreneurship and development. And it's been very interesting, just kind of finding my niche in all of this as well. So I appreciate quite a few things you've said thus
Good.
far.
Well, you know, that's interesting that you brought up about not-for-profits. I've spent a lot of time working with not-for-profits as well. I facilitate a lot of not-for-profit board meetings and things like that. And a lot of the things that we see as small business owners are also appropriate for not-for-profits. So I'm glad that you're able to take what I said today and use it in the not-for-profit world as well. Because I know that that's a great place to use a lot of these same ideas, these same things. One of the biggest things I see about nonprofits is they don't plan for where they want to be in the end. That's a big issue, you know, figuring out what their end game is. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yes, and when you mention how to make a plan, it's the same thing that you were saying, and those terms of the roadblockers, the way,
Yeah.
what's the most important thing, and really at the end, because most projects are really like there is a beginning and there's always a beginning and an end, but people don't have vision for what will it look like at the end, or when is it, you know, that at that point where it's finished, and how to move and transition into the next a project. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So those three
Thank you.
questions were, what is the outcome that I want for this? So whatever it is, right? In your case,
Yeah.
you were talking about not-for-profit projects. Okay, what's the outcome? Where do we want to go with this? What could get in the way, and what's most important for us to get right? Those three questions will take you a long ways towards your planning. I mean, if you're doing strategic planning for your business, you're not going to do that in 3 seconds or even 30 seconds. That's going to take you a while to do. But it's the same process, asking those same questions, just more in depth, and other things around it as well. So who's got, are there any other questions today or comments before we say goodbye? I do want to thank you all for coming and listening.
Yes, no, thank you so much, Lynn. This was great. I love that when we're all up here and sharing ideas and knowledge and inspiration, just to help support each other to do better. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, Miss Colleen had to hop off. She's a active lady as always, but we hope to see you all back here next week when we have Dr. Lori Monaco, aka Badass Buddha, here to talk about procrastination, kind of in line with today, you know. So when will you get around to doing blank? I know we've all procrastinated a time or two, so join us next week, same time, same space, and we'll hear from another one of our VIP members, Lori Monaco. Thanks again, Miss Lynn, and yeah,
Thanks.
we'll see you all next week.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.